Hello and welcome everyone. Today I can finally show you my top 5 Minion League starters for Trial of the Ancestors. In general, I think the Minion meta has just received a huge reshuffle, at least in terms of League start and low budget builds. The list I've compiled features Minion builds that are powerful, affordable, and compatible with the new League mechanic, as well as Sanctum, save maybe one exception. The first build I would like to introduce you to is a bit of an oddity, namely my cold conversion Carrion Golem Zombie Ascendant that I played as a League starter back in Sanctum League. It features permanent minions that mostly deal cold damage and scale well into the late game. The reason we want to play the build on the Ascendant is because of the Elementalist specialization, which we introduce via Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flash, and grants +1 to maximum number of golems, and further minus 20% resistances when inflicting exposure. Whereas on the Necromancer, we would have to choose between Elemancer or Mastermind of Discord for the Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flash combination, effectively only granting half of the bonuses. The Forbidden Flash and Forbidden Flame combination for the Ascendant is also pretty cheap, which is great in general. Since it's a golem build, it has to be leveled and played as a different build like Absolution until you can afford at least the 2 Clay Shapers, because your golems are otherwise simply too weak and not numerous enough to clear maps. Since most of you probably never played an Absolution Ascendant, I've left the passive tree progression and a skill guide for the campaign in the League Start PoE, which I've done for the other builds as well. Outside of the Clay Shapers, the build features basic rares with life, attributes, and resistances, as well as some uniques. Most of them are inexpensive, with the exception of the Anima Stone and the Primordial Jewels, which you either have to farm yourself via Delve, or simply buy them once you have some currency. Skullhead gives minions 25% chance to block hits, and grants 10% life recovery on block, which in combination with Bone Offering and Decay Ward will make your minions incredibly resilient towards hit-based damage. Grip of the Council has a couple of nice modifiers, including minions gain 20% of physical damage as extra cold damage, which helps boost DPS at the beginning, and is replaced by Triad Grip later on. For the jewelry, you would like to have at least 1 free suffix for minimum endurance charges, because it's otherwise hard to scale physical resistances to acceptable levels. For the flasks, you want to go with a life flask that removes bleeding, roomies, concoction for armor and block chance, or a generic granite flask if you can't afford roomies just yet, a quicksilver flask for movement speed, a quartz flask with increased armor for phasing, and last but not least, an amethyst flask for chaos resistance and something useful like reduced shock effect. You can use cheap ghastly eye jewels with physical and cold damage for minions until you can access the Anima Stone and the Primordial Jewels. The Spectres you want to go with are the Chieftains for the charges and the Primal Crush Claw for the debuff. The AG features mostly inexpensive uniques like Relentless Fury for Culling Strike, Leercast for minion damage, Wake of Destruction for Shocked Ground, a pair of Hunter-influenced gloves for the Intimidate. For the chest you want to go with Zandethis' Cassock to Chaos Cap the AG and allow it to create Consecrated Ground on block, which in itself would be strong, but is made even better by Broken Faith, which transforms the Consecrated Ground into Profane Ground. And Profane Ground grants 100% increased critical strike chance and minus 10% to all resistances against affected enemies. The downsides of the build include the slower start due to the minions being weaker on the Scion early on, and the currency barrier for entry. For a more in-depth look, you can check out my original guide from Sanctum League, which you can find in the build guides playlist in the description of this video and on my channel page. The next build is a Soulwrest Necromancer, which has been around forever and is by far the cheapest and easiest build to get going. The basics are simple. If you consume a corpse while using Soulwrest, you will summon a phantasm with a base duration of 15 seconds. By socketing Summon Phantasm support into the weapon, you'll get up to 20 phantasms that you can enhance with additional support gems further. The easiest way to trigger it is with a Cyclone plus Cast While Channeling support linked to Desecrate and one or more offerings. In order to utilize multiple offerings at the same time, we have to wear the Leash of Oblation, which also gives us some life and stats on top of the main effect. Since the phantasms are constantly being replaced, all of our utility minions are healed on a regular basis because of the minion mastery that grants 5% minion life recovery on minion death. The phantasms have a duration of around 30 seconds with Enduring Bond and Mistress of Sacrifice, so we can also make use of the newly introduced Fresh Meat support, which will boost the damage of the phantasms significantly. We also got an additional aura via the Guardian Blessing support on the Stone Golem, which is why the damage of the actual build will be quite a bit higher than what you can see in the video footage. The build uses the same basic gear from before, the main difference being the weapon. It's important to note that we don't have to actually link the sockets in the weapon, which is a huge currency saver. In terms of gear progression, you can make use of the Ancient Skull to boost damage as long as you spec into the Minion Chaos Resistance node on the passive tree. For the Spectres, you want to go with the Pale Seraphim for the debuff and the Chieftains for the charges. They are, however, a bit limited due to the high turnover number on our phantasms. The gear on the Animate Guardian is the exact same, save for the gloves that now feature the Hunter mod that allows the Guardian to unnerve enemies. The downsides of the build include the low survivability of the phantasms, which can be ignored if there are enough corpses to trigger new phantasms, and that it can't be properly scaled beyond a low budget. Now there is a minion that has been curiously absent so far. After all, a league start guide by me without Animate weapon? Not on my watch. So for the next build, we're doing something new, namely Prismatic Animate weapon on the Guardian. The skill animates lingering blades on the ground that we create using Bladefall for a total duration of 65 seconds with Enduring Bond. Since the auras from the new elemental relics give Fizz as extra cold, more cold damage, as well as flat added fire and lightning damage to attacks, you want to play Prismatic Animate weapon instead of something like Carrion Golem zombies, because the weapons scale exceedingly well with flat added damage due to the non-existent base damage. Since Bastion of Hope gives us and our minions 25% chance to block attacks and spells if we've attacked and cast a spell recently, we can use Spirit Offering instead of Bone Offering to increase the damage even further. Time of Need is now going to regenerate 100% of life every 4 seconds, as well as remove curses and elemental ailments, making the Guardian far more survivable than a comparable build on the Necromancer. Unlike the last two builds, this build is using a Convoking Wand that is rolled with a Deafening Essence of Fear for the minion damage, and Tyresso's Courage to get pseudo block capped. Similar to the first build, you want to get Grip of the Council and later transition it into a 3 green, 1 red Triad Grip for Fizz to Cold conversion. Since the build is dealing prismatic damage, you want to use Fleshcrafter, so you don't have to deal with enemy elemental resistances once you can afford it. Aegis Aurora is a sensible shield upgrade once you can afford the price and have enough mana reservation for Tempest Shield. For the Spectres, you want to use the Chieftains for charges and the Arena Master for the buff. The AG has to use a different chest and shield combination compared to the prior builds because the chaos resistance from Xandathis' Casog in combination with Fleshcrafter would instantly kill the AG on summoning. Instead, we use Ice Tomb for freeze when hit, and Centauri's Answer for the curse utility it provides. One of the major downsides of the build is the fact that the weapons disappear on loading screens, including death, making it pretty bad for Sanctum. If you don't like the 2-button playstyle of Animate weapon, or plan on playing Sanctum a lot, you could play this build with SRS instead. The builds are overall pretty similar, and I've left a PUB for both in the description below. For the runner-up, we're doing a community favorite, namely Skeleton Mages. In order to summon them, we have to use Dead Reckoning, which can be accessed via the following vendor recipe. They come in 3 different varieties, each dealing a different type of elemental damage. Due to the prismatic nature of the minion, the new Guardian Ascendancy is a great fit. Since they are spellcasters that don't deal physical damage, the auras work differently than they did on Animate weapon. The Skeleton Mages get flat added fire damage, more cold, and lightning damage, with the last 2 only enhancing damage of the respective elemental projectiles. Similar to the Phantasms from before, the Skeleton Mages can also be summoned easily and have around 30 seconds duration with Enduring Bond, which means we can make use of the new Fresh Meat support, boosting the damage of the skeletons significantly as well. The gear is pretty similar to the Animate weapon setup, the main difference being the Triad Grip that is not needed for the Skeleton Mage build. Spectres are unchanged as well, and the gear for the AG is the same except for the Hunter Gloves, which feature the Unnerve modifier. One of the major downsides of the build is Minion survivability, which can be mitigated by using a medium cluster with the Blessed Rebirth notable, and the fact that they can't be convocated or teleported to your position once they're too far away from you. So if you prefer a dive in and convocate kind of playstyle, this is probably not the right build for you. For my top league starter, I would like to present my toxic Zoomancer, which features zombies and skeletons in the same 6-link and Carrion golems in the gloves. To make the skeletons permanent, we utilize Oberon's Warpath, which has been nerfed this league and now only lets us summon a single skeleton per use, but is otherwise still fine. The items are similar to the Animated weapon build, with the main difference being Oberon's Warpath and the Embalmer, which we use to boost our Carrion golems. The build can be progressed by adding additional Carrion golems via the Anima Stone and Primordial Jewels, as well as poison-themed uniques like Dendrobait and United in Dream once you can afford them. The AG features the same gear the first build used, and for the Spectres you want to use a Carnage Chieftain for the Frenzy charges, an Arena Master for the buff, and the Pale Seraphim for the debuff. In case you were wondering, this build is of course using the Withered debuff, which increases chaos damage taken by 6% per stack, with the maximum number of stacks being 15. Contrary to popular belief, every Withered stack has its own duration and is not refreshed by applying new stacks, meaning you need to land around 60 hits in less than 2 seconds, which is why we use Withering Touch in the main setup, because only then do we get the full 90% increased chaos damage taken. Since the build only features permanent minions, it's excellent for the new League mechanic and Sanctum, although it has some limitations as well. Scaling it will require a bit more currency than the other builds need, and skeleton survivability is a limiting factor, to the point where you want to avoid mechanics with strong degens like Essence or Searing Exarch. Looking forward, I think both the Cold Conversion Carrion Golem Zombie Ascendant and the Skeleton Mage Guardian can be scaled well into the late game, whereas the Soulwrest Necromancer will never get much stronger than it is at league start. For the Toxic Zoomancer, the limiting factor for scaling will be minion survivability, which is why I don't recommend taking it any further than low or medium budget. While I do think the Prismatic Animate Weapon Guardian can be scaled somewhat, it will pale in comparison to Chaos, Cold, and Physical Animate Weapon on the Necromancer, both in terms of minion damage and minion survivability. If you're interested in how those builds look like on League Start or various budget levels, you can find them in the Build Guides playlist in the description of this video, and on my channel page as well. And that's a wrap. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can leave them in the comments. I'll try to get them as soon as I can. I would like to thank my Patreon for their ongoing support. If you want to support my work or connect with me and my community, you can check out my socials including Twitch, Discord, and Patreon on my channel page or in the description of this video. I hope you're as excited for the Trial of the Ancestors as I am, and I'll see you in the next one.